IVM.
Hello everyone, welcome back. You're listening to a brand new episode of The Millennial Athlete with Tanvi and Shlok, a podcast of, for and by the millennials. I'm your host Shlok Ramchandran.
And I'm co-host Tanvi Lad. So Shlok, are we excited to bring on a true millennial athlete on our show today? I mean, I was just going through his Twitter profile and it says, his bio says that he's an international swimmer, fastest Indian backstroker, youth Olympian, YouTuber and foodie. So really looking forward to a fun chat there.
Yeah, I mean after hearing that bio, I feel old. I think you must feel older because I think you are the eldest in the room so far today. So yeah, really excited to have, in my opinion, the fastest swimmer in India at the moment. So please welcome Srihari Nataraj. Hi Srihari, how are you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. Thank you for the introduction.
So, Srihari, I mean, how has the whole lockdown been? I think the last I've met you was at the gym.
In Jan or Feb,
Jan and then boom, everything was shut. Swimming pools were shut, and
everything was shut.
Yeah. So, how's it all been?
It's going good. I'm glad to be back into the pool and in the gym. Lockdown was fun. I mean, it had just ups and downs. You can say fun sarcastically as well.
I mean, for a swimmer, it's all about the feel, right? So, I mean, at least we had the option of training, going for a run or doing HIIT circuits and things to keep fit. But if for you guys, it must have been 5 months out of the pool and...
Yeah, so I mean, I did try to do what I can to stay fit and not put on a lot of fat and not put on a lot of weight. But again, like you just said, it's all about the feel, and 5 months out really did set us back a lot. But I didn't get too worried about it, just tried to stay calm.
I mean, we also spoke to Veer Dhaval and Rujuta, earlier in the lockdown, and they were, they had obviously great words for you, and they think that you are the next big thing in Indian swimming. They also struggled a bit with the lockdown. So what was your general routine like during the lockdown once you know that you couldn't go to the swimming pool?
So basically, I wasn't waking up in the morning actually, but I had to, after a point, I had to wake up at about 9:10 because I was training with a few of my friends online, a few of my juniors, and about 3-4 of us were just working out on a video call. So I would do that, and then I would just chill the whole day. I started watching a new TV show, a lot of movies, learned how to play the guitar, a little bit, not too much. And then after things eased up a little bit, started playing cricket and tennis with a friend of mine who stays pretty close by. So yeah, just about that. Nothing major. Just one workout session a day and then chilled out the whole day.
Any changes in your diet though? I mean, as swimmers, you tend to eat.
As swimmers generally eat a lot. I eat double of what most swimmers do.
I would like to cut you short there. I remember this one time. I think you had this competition with one of your teammates or something. You had about who could eat more gulab jamuns, and I think you won 50. If I'm not, 50.
No, that was Puri's. I had about like 20 gulab jamuns, and he had about 18. Even he trains in the gym with us. So yeah, that was when Declan Search took us out. Yeah, so I was barely eating during the lockdown. I was at about 2,000 to 2,500 calories a day, which was like down from 7,500 calories. And it did hurt a lot the first few days, especially the first few weeks, I could say. But then I got adjusted to it.
Disclaimer there, a swimmer's diet is 7,000 calories because they are burning 7,000 calories. So
that's also true, yeah. 2,000 calories a workout for sure.
Please, after listening to Srihari, don't everybody just go and eat 7,000 calories, please.
I don't recommend swimmers to try that as well.
But on an average, how much do you guys burn? I mean, you train twice a day, right?
Twice a day and once in the gym. And the gym's for about 4 days a week at least, for me. So at least close to 5,000, 6,000 calories is what my coach said today. We were actually talking about this today morning. And he said, I definitely need the calories in, and even if I'm trying to lose weight, I can't go on a calorie deficit because I am burning so much in the workout, and I won't be able to recover and train the next session if I don't get the food in.
Okay, so Srihari, let's go back to your early days. I mean, why swimming? I mean, what got you to the pool?
Was
Yeah.
wasn't my choice.
What was your choice then?
I was young. I didn't have a choice. I was two.
What, you were two when you started swimming?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. So my brother used to swim, and my mom had to take me to the pool, and I was just too naughty, so she just put me into the water, like so that I do something for like 10, 20 minutes. Then I get tired and fall asleep because he had a training session, and I was just too naughty over there, and nobody could control me. Yeah, but then about I because I come from a family of cricketers. Cricket's actually in my blood, is what everyone said, and my uncle who's a coach and in the school as well. They all wanted me to switch, even at the age of 12, 13. They all wanted me to switch because I used to play in the nets in the school, and my uncle's definitely seen me play here at home, and also we used to go. There's a ground nearby where he used to coach, so we used to go by there and just play for a while. So a few of my uncles played for the Ranchi, and then my cousin played for the India A team. He was teammates with Dravid and Kumble and all of them for about a very long time in the mid 90s and late 90s for the Ranji team. So yeah, but I mean, I started doing good in swimming, and then, I mean, when I'm winning, I didn't want to leave it and go to another sport. I mean, it's something I enjoy. No offense to any of you guys who are in other sports, but swimming training is pretty challenging. I mean, it's because I've been to a cricket coaching and played a lot of sports growing up, but then there's just some satisfaction I get out of those 5 kilometers, 6 kilometer work. Not six, and not anything more than five is too much. Just get something out of the long and fast swim sessions, and then when you really get a chance to be in the water, I mean, it just feels good. It feels natural to me. So
I mean, you were born to swim, so everything else is going to feel unnatural.
Quite clear.
But I mean, in terms of, when you look at the different sports, like you mentioned, especially, swimming or cycling, there's a huge physical element to it. I mean, not that the other sports are not equally physical, but
yeah, of course.
this is pure
Yeah,
physical. So you can actually like periodize
yeah,
your training, and there's a tapering, closer to
yeah,
competition. Whereas
yep,
in a sport like
yep,
what we play, it's so
yeah,
individual specific. There is an opponent on the other side, so you're
yes,
competing not only with
yeah.
yourself, but
Yeah, exactly. Your game, this I've actually even I've spoken to Declan as well about badminton and tennis, about why it's so challenging is because you never play the same way in more than one game. I've been to tennis coaching for about 2 years in the school as well. I was in a sports school. So I never played this. I don't remember playing the same way ever twice. Like even when I used to play with my friend here during the lockdown, which we played for about a month almost every day, it was just different every day. And it was exhausting. I could barely walk after, but it's so challenging because you have to be prepared for anything, and that's what he used to tell me. And then I only realized that after getting into the game.
yeah, yeah. I mean, to all the millennial athletes out there, this is something that I know Declan sir used to emphasize a lot. That sports specific training is so important. It's not that's what
Exactly.
makes, a sportsman or a champion who he is. It's not generalized fitness or CrossFit and things that look
Yeah.
really fancy, in videos, and, someone's Virat Kohli is doing a clean and jerk doesn't mean it's meant for everyone. So that's,
Yeah.
assessing an
Yeah.
athlete's needs is number one priority when you're training for a sport.
Yep.
It's also not been, it's not only been rainbows and sunshine. You've had your struggles as well. There was a
Yeah.
time where, swimming also requires a lot of financial backing, and unfortunately, we as a country is not supporting swimming as much we should. Can you take us through those years where you were actually funding yourselves, and as far as I remember, you went to the World Championships on your own funding?
Yeah. The Worlds and the World Juniors.
Which year was this?
Last year. That was my first World Championships last year. Oh yeah, no, no, not last year. 2019. We did 2021. I forgot about that. 2019 was this.
Yeah. Does that make you feel a little sad that some sports get a little more, or no, not a little more, a lot more funding than swimming actually?
I mean, yeah, of course it does. But swimming is growing as a sport, and I'm trying to look at the positives, and um, it is growing as a sport. And now I have been supported by Tops in 2018, and then I've also been included into the tops group again from 20. So that's one thing which is a major benefit for me because my parents have spent a lot of money the past few years for my training and my competitions, and yeah, being in this is a lot easier on them, and also gives me the opportunity to get the experience that I haven't gotten access to. But I know, yeah, the sport is evolving. It's a lot more visible to the media and to the public, and hopefully soon there'll be a lot of changes, and there are already a lot of changes. And I mean, hopefully it gets to a point where it's at the level, it gets the same level of support as other sports.
Yeah, looking forward to that because I mean you've already made the B cut, right? I mean you have to still qualify
Yeah, the
for
B.
the Olympics, but I think in the
Yeah,
run up, having financial support is something that is of prime importance, so that you can actually focus on the task at hand without having to worry about, you
yeah,
know, who's going to take care of my training or my
exactly.
tournaments or my nutrition. So yeah.
So moving on, there's this one question which I really want to ask. Your relationship with the Khades, how important has that been over the years now?
I actually know Viru for a very long time. I remember seeing Viru when I was like 6, 7 years old, and I've known him for. There's actually a photo of Veer and I in 2011, and then Veer and I in 2018 when we were teammates. When the photo from Veer and I was actually there was a competition in the pool that I was training in, and I was giving him a bouquet as he was the chief guest. And 2018 was when we were teammates at the Commonwealth Games. Yeah, so Veer's been someone that I've really looked up to. He's an amazing guy. He's a very good friend, very close friend. He's very supportive. I mean, I love the past. I would say 18, 19. I've traveled a lot, quite a lot with him, and I love traveling with him. I love competing with him, and he's just a very nice atmosphere around him, and he's taught me a lot. I'm very close to Rujita as well. She's very friendly and supportive as well. I don't know as well as Veer, but she's really fun to be around as well. She's very supportive and she's very friendly, and I mean, both of them are just amazing.
So as a shout out to our OG guests of the Millennial Athlete, Veer Dhawan and Rujuta, for being such amazing mentors, and hopefully you can continue to mentor such upcoming swimmers like Shriyari in the
All
future.
right. I think on that note, let's take a quick break. We have a bunch of things that we want to chat about with Srihari, but stay tuned, guys. You're listening to The Millennial Athlete with Tanvi and Shlok. We'll be right back.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you haven't been following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'd like to thank the sponsors on the network this week, Storytel and The Whole Truth Foods. Thank you for supporting us. So, a great bunch of episodes this week. First, let me tell you about The Note with Mahrukh Inayat. It was featuring Asaduddin Owaisi. She spoke to the AIMIM leader to understand what the Indian Muslim voter wants and how his party is any different from the BJP. On Advertising is Dead, Varun spoke with Malika Sadani. Malika is the founder and CEO of the Moms Company. They discussed the science of motherhood. On Naan Curry with Sadaf and Archit, Dhananjay Chuck of the Edges and Sledges podcast showed up, so we did another crossover, this time with food and cricket. On Agla Station Adulthood, Ritasha and Ayushi talked to Gaurang Sangvi, head of digital business at DSP Mutual Fund. The episode has some logical and realistic advice, especially for millennials, on how to invest their money. Shunya One is back this week with Sheila Aditya and myself. We spoke to Anirudh Singla of Pepper Content this week. Really interesting conversation. Anirudh gave us some real deep insights into content creation and how they're thinking about different ways of creating it. Do check them out. Really fun show, really fun conversation. And with that, let me get you back to your show.
Welcome back. You're listening to The Millennial Athlete with Tanvi and Shlok. We still have cricketer turned pro swimmer Srihari Nataraj with us.
I was never a
You have
cricketer.
cricket in your blood. You don't have to be in your genes.
You have cricket in your blood, man.
Yeah, but still.
So if not for swimming, you would have chosen cricket?
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, it went to a point where I didn't enjoy cricket anymore. Like mostly because of how much support they get and how much support we don't. Compared. But I enjoy playing it, so I don't know. I never thought
It's
about,
always like that, right? I mean, a
yeah.
doctor's son will have to study medicine, and
No,
a
but
sportsman's son will have to pursue
no, but the thing
sport
is,
till he realizes, no, this is
I
not
never
true.
looked at cricket playing it competitively. I was just playing it for fun. I would go to the nets just because I didn't want to go back to the school, go to school and go back into the pool. Cricket was something I could play. Cricket was something I was good at, and it was just something that I enjoyed doing. But I don't know if it, I don't know, maybe if it was not swimming, it probably wouldn't have been a sport.
What else? You would have become a chartered accountant.
No. When I was younger, I always wanted to become a doctor. So I don't know. Depends. Yeah, but not now. I realize
Dr.
it's just too
Srihari
much
Natarajan
work.
has got a nice
I
ring to
know.
it.
It's just too much work now. Not happening.
Yeah, I think you should stick to the pool. I think that's
Yeah,
where you belong.
yeah.
But you mentioned you went to a sports school. That's interesting. I mean,
I
that's
was in Jain, so sports skill as in it wasn't completely sport. It's just that we would spend 2 hours a day every day in the morning playing some sport or the other, and it wasn't just like how in other schools where you just get half an hour to just play and have fun. It was with proper coaching and yeah. So
It was organized. Basically, it wasn't like my school where it was PT period and
that's
the
TP.
teachers would come and take it away.
TP is
The
TP
teachers,
period. We
no,
used
no.
to call it TP.
The teachers did try to take away a few of them, but luckily our class, like a few of I would just go. I mean, it didn't matter if they took the class or not. I'm not missing those first 2 hours. If I was in school, which I rarely went the last 2 years of my school, of high school, of ninth and 10th. But if I was there, I was in the ground for first 2 hours of the day. I didn't care if the teacher took the extra class or not.
I mean, yeah. On that note, a lot of parents do ask this question, like how do elite sportsmen manage their studies with high performance training? How was your experience like? You must be still in your grad school, right?
Yeah, I'm in my second year. I don't
Yeah.
manage it. I'm just kidding. I mean, I used to find time to just study when I could, but now I just somehow do something to pass the Sims.
Scrape through,
Yeah,
scrape through.
yeah. Because for me, I've always been someone like if I'm doing something, I want to do completely well in it. Otherwise, I don't like doing it, and I don't have a choice. I mean, I definitely have to finish my grad school, so I just want to get through it, get through with it, and get through and done with it. So I'm just trying to, like you said, scrape through. But when I was younger, I did study whenever I found time. But then again, like I told, I got to a point where I just didn't want to do both. I couldn't do both basically because any sport is so exhausting mentally. We can't just go and just swim, or we can't just go to the nets and bowl or bat, or we can't just go to the court and play a rally or kick the football on the ground. We think about everything that we're doing. It's so exhausting mentally, and I just couldn't do both. I just didn't want to waste that maybe even that 1% of energy that I could save for the next session in something which I didn't really want to excel in.
Yeah, that's very true, actually.
Bad advice, don't follow me, but this is what I did.
I mean, it's not bad
No,
advice.
it's perfect advice. I mean, like you said, there is so much of a mental aspect to every training session.
Yeah.
I mean, you go in with a
Yeah.
plan, and then there's physical load, and then you assess
Yes.
post. So, it's like
Yes.
attending couple of lectures. You get mentally fried.
Way more than a couple of
Yeah,
lectures. Yeah. Yeah, like now we're working on something with my stroke, with my technique in the pool, and I'm supposed to do it slow. It's just trying to get the technique right, and it is so hard to focus. It's three different things, and it's so hard to focus on all three different things at the same time. I mean, if I can do that, I'm pretty sure I can become a doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes actually people don't realize that like for example swimming, to just take that 2 seconds lesser, it is just so much work. Forget 2 seconds.
Point
Forget
two.
2 seconds.
Point two.
Point two.
0.2
Vindhava
seconds,
lost
it
his
is just so
medal
much
by
work.
0.8 seconds.
Point
What are
zero
we
one.
talking
Point
about?
0.01. I lost a medal by 0.15. He lost a medal by 0.01.
For the outside world, it is 1921 for just 0.12 second. But we know as
Yeah.
athletes, how tough it is to, even get that minute difference. So I'm pretty sure if you would have put the same work in becoming a chartered accountant or in MBBS, you would have become one.
Yeah. And it's not only in the pool or in the court or in the nets, it's even in the gym. I mean, we can't just go, for example, if we're lifting a heavy squat, we can't just go and lift it and come. We need to get psyched up mentally. We need to focus on the technique. We need to know exactly what we're doing and what's going wrong if we're not able to do what we're supposed to do. And there's just a lot.
So let's put that message out there to our listeners. I mean, the millennials who are listening to this conversation, I mean, it's all about margins at the end of the day, which is why we stress, or our coaches stress, the importance of 110% in every training session, be it on court or in the gym, because at the end of the day, you don't want to be missing out on a medal because, you've missed out by 0.1 second or you've lost the third game 22-20. It's going to hurt you real bad. So remember that when you train.
Yeah.
See, such a nice kid. He just hydrated himself. I mean, he's just keeping himself hydrated.
Yeah, because if I don't, then I won't survive tomorrow morning's workout. So I don't have a choice.
That's actually good, man.
Yeah.
So you're sponsored by Fasten Up, is it? They manage your supplements and your nutrition. So how important is supplementation for a swimmer?
Supplements for any athlete is like breathing for a regular human being. I mean, we try our level best to perform as much as we can with natural food, but there is a limit. I mean, we don't have it. The body takes time to recover. We don't have 24 hours between two practice sessions, and we need to train twice a day so that we can get some progress in and get some results. So supplements is basically to help us recover and perform better, and making sure you have the right nutrition, the right supplements is again a very big thing, because what might do good for me might not be the same for somebody else. And again, the quantities and the dosage, everything needs to be monitored by your coach or your nutritionist. And at the end of the day, I've noticed the difference. I mean, there are people who aren't for it, but it does make a difference. I mean, like he said, how hydrating is so important for an athlete. So are stuff like electrolytes and carbs and protein. I mean, there is a limit to how much we can eat. I can't constantly. If I wanted to get the amount of protein that my body requires, I would have to eat 15,000 calories a day to get the same. Being a vegetarian, being a Brahmin, I'll have to eat like 35-40 eggs a day to get the same amount of protein. So I need a protein supplement in my routine so that I can get in the nutrients that the body requires to recover and not break down. Because at the end of the day, whatever we're doing, we need it to convert into power or strength or agility or whatever the sport demands. And basically, when you work out, your muscles break down and you want your muscles to recover. And that's where supplements come in. That's one of the things that supplements comes in. That's just an example.
Also, Puma. I mean, congratulations. You signed a deal with Puma. That is huge. 18-year-old swimmer signing a deal with Puma.
I'm 20.
I'm sure you must be pretty chuffed about that.
I'm almost 20.
Oh shit. He's almost 20. You told me he was 18. God, I don't feel very old now.
No, but when I signed, I was 19. 19, yeah.
Okay, so I got that part right.
19,
but again, I mean, it's such a huge breakthrough for a 19-year-old swimmer too.
It feels great. I mean,
go on.
It feels great. I'm glad it happened. I love that stuff. I mean, it does help me train better. It feels good for me, being someone who usually likes dressing up well, even when I go to tournaments. And for me, I look at it this way: I dress up well, I'm more confident. So this definitely helps me with that as well. That's one thing that's actually the most major thing.
I mean, Tanvi, that strikes out with a lot of these top athletes, right? Everybody wants to look good, look really good on court, and you just feel a little more confident.
Yeah, like Srihari mentioned, I think it's it just boosts your self-belief, your self-esteem, I think beyond, why not? I mean, dressing up well gives you a certain sense of self-confidence. You feel good. I remember going to,
Yeah, you see the king always walking in with like a gold
yeah,
armor and all the shiny stuff. You don't see him just coming in random things which don't match
yeah.
and which don't suit his position.
I mean, I remember going, we used to look forward to the Japan Open or the German Open because we used to get the latest line of your next skitting and, you'd be sporting the latest clothes. I mean, it
Yeah,
just made us feel good and nothing wrong in that as an athlete, I think.
yep, yeah.
I mean, so that first reveal when they send you that box, I mean, I got some of my stuff from Transform India, which was a new Indian badminton brand, and it just feels so good when you open it up and you just look at it.
Santa
I
came
know.
home.
Christmas comes home so early for us.
Yep.
Okay, so on that note, I'm moving to this question Cyrus asked us on his show is on how athletes deal with jet lag. So we ideally, as badminton players, go 3 days
Okay.
before the event starts, and so that is how we go and
Yeah.
we try to set ourselves to that time. How does it work with swimmers?
Yeah. 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 So basically, the first time I actually traveled to a place where the time difference is really far away from India or is really big from India was the Commonwealth Games. Everywhere else I went was within 2-3 hours. The max was about 2 hours away. So when I went to Australia, the first day I was just exhausted, so I passed out. But the next day I was up till 1:32, and I ended up roaming around the village because I even got hungry in between. So yeah, but over time, like when I went to Argentina, we went about 5 days before, and what I started doing was I was trying to sleep on the flight. It was a very long flight, so what I tried to do was sleep, maybe take a very short nap when it's afternoon in Buenos Aires, and then go to bed, like take a long sleep on the flight only when it's nighttime in Buenos Aires. So that did help me a little bit. And what I did in 2019, going into the World Championships, which was in Korea, is I started training very early in the morning. So I would wake up at 4:15, because that's like 7:30 in Korea or something like that. I don't remember the timing. So that kind of got me adjusted to the time difference. But I haven't had a huge issue with it. Probably just for the first day. We usually go 2-3 days prior to the meet as well. So yeah, that does help a little
What
bit.
about the food? Since you told that you are a vegetarian, and I'm sure you must have traveled to Asian countries where vegetarian food is a little tough to get, or is it easy to get? Have you been
It
to
was
China?
fine. It was easy to get.
Okay,
I haven't
good
been
luck
to
with
China.
that then.
I was supposed to be to China in 2018.
Good
I
luck
think
with
so.
that. You will understand how tough it is to be a vegetarian in
You,
China.
you will live on cup noodles. Cup noodles will be your lifesaver.
Well, in Buenos Aires, it was cheese pizza
Wow.
and Jello, because there was barely any vegetarian. The only vegetarian meal in the entire uh, dining hall for lunch and dinner was cheese pizza. So I survived on a cheese pizza and like 3-4 cups of
That's
Jellos
not a
every
bad
day.
diet. I
So
would love that.
Carbs. Carb loading.
yeah, but I that just
Yeah.
destroyed my no, I wouldn't say destroyed my performance, because back then I had a very bad eating habit. My eating habit has improved a lot after traveling with Veer. So basically, what I started doing is I tried to put on the same things that he put on his plate and eat it. But there was the occasional he would skip the cake or the pastry and it just come on my plate. But yeah, now it's a lot better.
Of course, Veer has his evergreen six-pack there, so I know
Yeah, yeah.
the discipline that must be going in behind it.
Yeah, but again, the six pack is a side effect of like how Declan Sir used to tell
Yeah.
us from the training, and he burns so much, so it's there. And of course, the discipline. He definitely has the discipline. Had the discipline to, you know, stay in shape and have his body fat low, which I'm starting to understand the value of now, and I'm working on. It's been a long time since I've ate like what I used to, because till 2017 I would have a scoop of ice cream every night before sleeping. Every night. In my family, everybody loves sweets, so this the freezer used to always have ice cream and chocolates. So
Sacrifice is the name of the game. That's the toughest
Yeah.
part. I think more than the workouts, not being
No,
able
now
to
I'm
eat
okay with it.
XYZ for us millennials.
Now I'm okay with
I
it.
know, but still it hits me from time to time. It still
Yeah,
hits you.
it hit you, but now you're used to it, and you become a wise 20-year-old.
Not yet
Not
20.
yet 20, so he's going to.
I already feel old.
When's
Okay.
your
When's your
birthday,
birthday,
Shriyari?
16.
16th of what?
Jan.
Oh wow,
Oh, that's literally like 15 days before mine.
that is amazing.
Okay.
See, Aquarians are cool.
I know.
I'm a Capricorn.
कुछ भी मतलब तन्वी कुछ भी.
Why are you Capricorn?
I'm a
Are
Capricorn.
we supposed to be an Aquarian?
Yeah.
Nope.
Go first. Go read the sun signs, see what dates are there, and then come back and then say Aquarians are cool.
Okay, he's like on the
Yeah,
border of a
yeah, right,
Capricorn
right.
and
Okay,
Aquarian.
okay.
Literally on the
Take a
border.
border very
Okay, fine.
Yeah, I think it's on like 21st or 22nd or
Yeah,
something.
he is a
Yeah.
borderline
Cool.
case. Anyhow, so I think that's been a fun chat. Anything else you want to ask him?
Yes,
Shloka?
I want to ask him about the Dubai stint. How was your training in Dubai? How long were you there in Dubai? And can you tell us the details and how it actually unfolded?
Yeah, so the federation was trying to get a few of us out there so that we can get back into the pool. That's all I know about. I mean, I didn't really bother too much with the details. I'm like, okay, I got to go. Okay, I'm going.
Getting out of Bangalore
Peter-
city.
Let's just go. Yeah, the Bangalore weather was too hot. But then I realized, okay, Dubai is even hotter. Not good. But at least everything went well. So, I mean, it just happened. Got to Dubai end of August. We were there for about 2 months. And our training was fine. I mean, it was for me. No, I wasn't really I know that there was 2 months is not going to do anything to get back to peak shape or condition. So I was focusing a lot on getting back into my getting my feel back. But a few weeks in, I got a minor injury on my right shoulder, and I was out for about 4 weeks. So I was just working on kick and just taking it pretty easy. And then about that 2 weeks after that, and I had to get back. So Dubai basically, I worked a lot on my field, and because of that, I could just resume. As soon as I got back to India, I could resume training pretty quick. And yeah,
Also, you had your long-term coach with you, right?
yeah, I just changed coaches.
Oh, you just switched coaches. Okay.
So looking forward to 2021, I think the Olympics is definitely up there.
Hopefully.
I'm sure you're going to make the cut, and
I'm saying
let's
hopefully
hope
it
you create
happens.
history. Hopefully
I'm
it
not doubt
happens.
about the cut.
Yes.
I'm not worried about the cut. I'm just worried if it happens.
वो
No,
तो
but
हो जाएगा.
we want you to create history and win that medal. Become the first swimmer to win an Olympic medal for India. So, fingers
I'll
crossed.
try.
Then we can say proudly that on season 2 of the Millennial Athlete, Srihari came and he told us this, that he's going to win a medal. Oh, sorry, he didn't tell us. We told him that he'll win a medal, and then we can get you on season 3 also.
Yeah, sure.
Also special thanks to Meraki, who got you on the show. So Srihari is managed by Meraki. So if anybody wants to get in touch with any brand collabs or anything with Srihari, please contact Meraki, and they shall make it happen for you. Thank you so much, Srihari. On that
Thank you for
note,
having
we
me.
come to an end of another episode of the Millennial Athlete with Tanvi and Shlok. If you like this podcast, please check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM Podcast app or IVM Podcast Network. You can follow IVM at their social media handle, that is @IVM Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, please feel free. I'm on Instagram and Twitter with the handle @SHLOKH95.
And you can reach out to me on @TanviLad93 on Instagram and Twitter.
Until then, ciao. We shall be back very soon with another fresh episode of the Millennial Athlete with Tanvi and Shlok. Thank you, everyone.
2020 is a difficult year. A global pandemic, protests, elections, recessions. You get the picture. What we need is a space where we can have nuanced discussions about global affairs and foreign policy. That's where I come in. My name is Hamsini Hariharan, and I host the States of Anarchy podcast. Every second Tuesday, I speak to experts in the field of international relations to make a little more sense of the world. So join me on the IVM Podcast app, website, or wherever you're listening to me right now.
If If you love cricket, listen up. The Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast is here for you. Hosted by DJ, Varun, and me, Ashwin, we bring a fun, fresh fan's point of view to talking all things cricket. Sometimes it's just the three of us, sometimes we have guests, including current and former international cricketers. For new episodes every week, check out the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast on the IVM app, website, or wherever you get your podcasts.